Hello. So today we're going to look at The Art of John Byrne, Volume 1. I want to comment there is nudity in this book, so be aware that there's going to be nudity coming. And I will also comment that he began his work in the 70s, and he started his college art career with some groundbreaking gay heroes. So he was very much inclusionary and wanted to portray people of all different backgrounds and so on. But the comic book market in the 70s was very much skewed towards hulky men and sexy, mostly naked women. So while there are those kinds of drawings in here, I don't put that on John Byrne himself. I put it on the market he was in, and he just needed to get a job. So keep those things in mind as we take a look through this book. So John Byrne gets an intro by Robert Stern. You get some details about his background and so on. Get details about working on the X-Men. More information about the X-Men and the types of powers that he was working on. So again, he was very happy to get these jobs. These were prime jobs in the cartooning market. And he wrote what they needed him to write. I mean, he didn't design some of these characters. He was following the templates of what the characters were like, and he did that very well. Got some Wolverine. It's fair to say that he has his own style, of course, and he added his own flavor to it. But when you're doing commercial comic books, you have to keep your characters looking the standard way that the characters look. It's only when you get to create your own comic books from scratch that you're able to start doing your own style. But again, if you're working with a publisher, the publisher is going to be controlling what kind of characters, and they're not going to let you to have, back in these days, gay characters or lesbian characters or so on. So we got some Superman, more talk about Wolverine and Banshee and Hulk. I really like this one with the flowing cape. He clearly is a great artist with great command, and then even things like this, which aren't a traditional comic booky style, we'll say, the Superman kind of style, but also a very well detailed with the little issues in the wing of the spaceship. So now we get a sketchbook. So we get the different characters, and again, these are the kinds of characters that in the 70s were required by publishers in order to be able to be part of the book. So the women had to be busty and sexy and in sexually provocative poses, and the men generally were bulky and muscular, which isn't fair to anybody in the grand scheme of things, but this is what people aspired to back then. So we've got half naked women, half cyborg women. You've got the violence and guts, space creatures, more naked women, mostly naked women, lots of tanks and spaceships. Well, look, they have clothes on, and they're looking sort of reasonable, but surely we know that that is going to change soon. Traditional setup, Wolverine, all the different characters. And then we go on to a story and art by John Byrne. And I do write romance novels, so I understand all the tropes involved in romance novels and so on. So I'm just going to warn you ahead of time. This is like a male romance novel, and there is nudity and sex involved in this, and the plot line is, we will call it iffy, but I mean, if we're going to judge any romance novel, they are all going to have fairly iffy plots. So let's take a look at the story that he's got. Spaceman crashes onto a planet. He's barely alive. He's looking around and trying to figure out what he can do. His poor little friends are dead. The food stuff is contaminated. So he's angry, and he buries his friends. And he's looking around. He sets up a distress beacon. He's waiting and waiting, and it's going off. And then he looks in the distance, and he sees a biodome. And he says, hey, this is great. So he goes running, grabs his gear, and goes racing off towards the biodome. And he finally gets there. He takes a look inside. He looks and sees that the temperature is good and the oxygen is good, so he happily pops off his helmet. All right, so, this heads into the whole romance novel thing. Why are people doing these things? But you have to sort of suspend disbelief. Okay, so he's on this alien spaceship that could have who knows what kind of biochemicals, but he says, oh, this looks fine. Let's just take off all my gear and go wandering around. And so he does. So he goes wandering around and he finds, oh, look, this biodome has this whole lush Earth-like kind of atmosphere in here with flying things and plants and all of this and butterflies. Oh, but there's something lurking in there, so we're curious about what this lurking thing is. And sure enough, there is a beautiful, young, slim, sorry, naked woman who is there to greet him. Oh, and this is, perfectly normal. He's on, who knows what planet, and aliens have 8 billion different forms that they can take, but this one happens to take the form of a slim, nubile, teenage, naked girl. And he says, oh, this is perfectly normal. Hello, naked girl. I'm going to put away my gun because, you're a cute naked girl, so you couldn't possibly cause me any harm. She says, oh, I love you. Here, let me take you over here in my whole nakedness. You just rest. I'm going to serve you food on my hands and knees. And, again, I write romance novels. The girl in distress finds some guy that's going to come and help her and all that. So I understand this. This is going a little above and beyond. I don't think we'd see guys in romance novels getting on their hands and knees and serving food to the heroine. But that is all right. All right, so he happily eats the food. It clearly could be poisoned or something, but he doesn't care. He eats it. Oh, this must be healthy because, pretty naked girl is serving it to me. And she looks at the gun and he says, oh, here, I'm a manly man. Let me show you what this gun can do. Look, I can blast things. Clappity, clappity. I can blast more things. Clappity. Oh, let me kill this pet bird of yours that's flying in the sky. And for some reason, she's horrified. And for some reason, he's going, oh, what did I just do? All I did was shoot this beautiful bird out of the sky and kill it. That couldn't possibly have done anything wrong. So clearly he's not the most experienced space traveler in the world if his idea of showing off to this girl is to blast things, including her pet bird. So now he's off looking for her and she's crying. And he says, hi, hi. He's making googly faces because, that's what girls that just had their pet killed off need to have. And then he falls in the water. Ha 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 ha, this is so much fun. So she goes swimming in, and now they're both naked, swimming around. And, of course, the only thing she could possibly think about after having her pet slaughtered by this stranger is that she wants to have sex with him. Because, that's the way romance novels work. So they start kissing, and again, he doesn't know what she is or how her body parts work. But the best thing for a guy to do with this space alien is to go have sex with her, because nothing could possibly go wrong in this scenario. Surely we have seen enough alien types of movies to know that this is not the wisest thing for him to do. But clearly he does it. So after they have sex, he's back over to his little sleeping nook. And he's sleeping there, and he looks over and says, oh wait, my gun is gone. Well, this is awful, because the only thing that I really care about is the gun and having sex with random female-shaped objects that are near here. So he says, where's my gun? Let me run out and try to track down my gun. Everything has to keep following on the gun. And it's not even made clear why he is heading in the direction of the outside of the biodome. I suppose one could say he looked all around the actual clearing and he didn't find her anywhere. So he goes in the biodome. He sees that she's running off, still naked. And then all of a sudden, he sees a giant hulking form. Well, he's afraid of the hulking form. He's not afraid of the sexy girl, because the sexy girl being naked is clearly no threat at all to him, because she couldn't have, like Wolverine claws or something that spring out of her body. So, robot form comes after him. He flees from robot form. And then now the girl is chasing him. And he's like, oh, wait, maybe the girl is the robot? So he goes climbing up a ladder. He goes running out. The girl's like, wait, no, stay. He's like, oh, it must get away from you. Clearly you're a killer robot, because that's like the only connection I can make in my head. And he goes running out, and someone has heard his distress signal. So they are landing to rescue him. He was running out and says, wait, there's this naked girl, and I had sex with her, but now she's turned into a giant robot. But then she turned back into a naked girl, but she has my gun, so we have to kill her. And they say, well, let's just get you in this spaceship and take off. So they get him in the spaceship. they blast off and knock her over, and she says, wait, come back. And then the robot comes and comforts her. Poor little girl, she doesn't get to have sex with the strange human anymore. And the epilogue is that he's in a bar with, lots of naked or semi-naked women, but he's still dreaming about that one that, like, he barely talked to, but who was all servile and would have sex with him whenever he wanted to without charging him any money. And she's happily playing away with the little space baby while her robot friend keeps an eye on them and makes sure that they are safe. So it is very, let's say, extreme in its storyline, but again, I write romance novels. I know how these things go. It's just funny to see it from a male point of view, that women are only there to be sexy and to have sex with, and there couldn't possibly be any danger on a space alien planet to be putting private parts into creatures that you don't know how their private parts work, and then being sad because they have a robot friend. No, he could have gone back there and seen what it was all about, but he did not. He chose to drink away his nights or days, or all days and nights in space bars with space aliens. And then we have the checklist of where these things were found. And then a bit of an afterword. And a full color picture. You always get this without the glare. Full color picture of him meeting sexy space alien, who is, perfectly harmless because she looks like a teenage girl. So couldn't possibly cause him any harm. So this is the way. I appreciate the art drawings now, and I appreciate this kind of stuff much more. I love the detail in this, and the sense of age, and the intermingling of the natural world and the man, or, intelligent life created world, whatever that is. So, if you're a fan of art, I would definitely recommend taking a look at the Art of John Byrne. He's got very good art. He was a product of his times. He drew things that were required by the publishers at the time. But also, again, I give him a lot of credit because in his college days he was drawing art with gay superheroes and other minorities being represented, and that's something he was interested in doing, and it's just the publishing world was not ready at the time to let him have that kind of voice. So kudos to him for his art talents, and kudos to him for his interests in expanding the world of art. Let me know if you have any questions.